my help. So that's, the theme. You have to ask.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, you gotta, it's like each of us has to step up and, you know, live life for ourselves, take those steps, do that work, you know, move forward. Can't always, like I was saying, you can't always wait for someone else to come save you because they're too busy saving themselves, living their own life.
Yeah.
They're too busy putting their energy there to come over and spend their energy, living your life for you when,
Hmm.
that's what each of us should be doing anyway.
Yeah, you got to look out for number one. And that might seem kind of harsh because sometimes like I can remember being younger when I was going through depression and anxiety and being like, why doesn't anyone understand? How come nobody notices? And like, almost taking it personally. And then that just kind of got me down even more until I finally realized, like, this is all on me. So,
Definitely, definitely. And that right there, what you just said, it's all on me. You know, it my life is all on me, your life is all on you, and everyone's life is all on them. It's like, got to step up and do the work, to get where we want to go, be who we want to be. And, it's like, I, it's like, I'm just so grateful for everything. I never would have met Gary Vee and had, he never would have flown me to New York City if I hadn't stepped up, done the work, wrote my autobiography, and needed some marketing tips. So I went and met him, when he
mhm.
spoke in Portland. It's like everything's connected like that.
Synchronistic. Yeah, when you start doing things and start following your path and start doing the work and showing up for yourself, doors are going to open and synchronicities are going to happen and things are going to align for you the way they're meant to, and it's going to blow your mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And, follow that synchronicity through a little further, and it's like, if I wouldn't have got connected with Gary Vaynerchuk, it might have been later or may not have happened that I got connected on Instagram,
Mhm.
hooked up with an Instagram account, wouldn't have met Brittany Michaelchuk, and
Mhm.
wouldn't have gotten into her marketing group, wouldn't have met you. So,
Yeah.
it's all connected, so it's like, if I hadn't stepped up and written my book, then, and done that work, then in the end I wouldn't have met you. So, in Brittany Michaelchuk's mastermind or marketing group. And, yeah, it's just, everything's, that's how I feel, is like, and like you were saying earlier, the energy, you were talking about energy and how you can sense my energy and aura, and it's like I sense yours. And, it's like all the energy's connected, and we just, you know, need to realize those connections.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like saying, you're most like the top five people that you spend your time with. So it's like find your tribe, find people who are like minded, find people who support you, who invest in themselves the way you do. And, it's easy to keep that high vibration around 100%. And I
Yeah.
find that in the mastermind and with people like you, like I consider you guys my soul tribe, like we align for a reason, 100%.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like that the group we're in. It's like, it's I feel that 100% what you just said. It's like we connect. It's like we joined the group for one purpose, and yet we get a lot of other benefits from it. Being connected, our energies and everything, and it's like, wow, that's so cool. And uh, gaining. It's like you and life seems to be just like that. You go into it for, you go into a situation or go into some circumstances for one purpose, and you realize in the end that that was just a byproduct, and it was actually a totally different purpose why you were actually basically sent there.
You just have to wait for the pieces to come together, and that's the most exciting part, just enjoying the process and then looking back one day and being like, wow, there was so much more to it, and this
Yeah,
is how the pieces all came together.
yeah,
So
definitely.
when did you publish your autobiography? That was something that I always wanted to do and I never did, and I'm curious about that.
It was actually the date of my publication was August 15th, 2016. I started the writing of my book in it was like September, late September, early October of no, it was September of 2015. It took me about 3 months to write my book, and then I was just pouring all my energy into it, before and after work, and on the weekends sometimes I'd spend a few hours on Saturday or Sunday writing, and then yeah, it took about 3 months to write it, and then back and forth with my publisher. Um, yeah, back and forth with them for about 7 or 8 months, and then finally, was able to publish the final product. Well,
Wow, that must be such an inspiration to so many people. That's incredible.
oh, thank you. Actually, it was I self-published it through Balboa Press, the self-publishing division of Hay House,
Okay.
because it's like my book was meant to be or is in the inspirational motivational genre,
Mm-hmm.
telling my story and trying to inspire and motivate people. So I I went to Hay House, got on their website, and right at the top of the page, it's big bold letters says essentially it said, if you don't have an agent, don't talk to us. So I'm like, well, that sucks. But I saw a link underneath that down the page a little bit that said self-publish, click on this link. And so I'm like, sounds good to me.
And you did it. That's incredible. I love
Yeah,
that. All about taking that action.
yeah, just taking the taking the next indicated step.
I love that. Like sharing your story, and it's all about, in the end, it's all about impact, right?
Yeah,
And helping to make the world a better place, especially with everything, the challenges that you've overcome. And then taking that action to actually write it all out and share it with other people. That's unbelievable.
yeah. Well, actually, I'm, being having an, just phenomenal, being an energy healer and Reiki practitioner and coach. It's like, I think you ought to do the same. You ought to write your story and write an autobiography and get it published. Not necessarily through the publisher I did. I mean, a very good publisher, but just whatever avenue you can find is best for you.
I just might one day, I'm actually co-authoring one of the Business Life and the Universe books coming up in the new year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I get 2,000 words. So I will be teaching about the importance of energy and balancing the masculine and feminine energy and how important that is in serving your biological as well as your soul purpose in this lifetime to make the world a better place. So I'll be talking about that. So I'm really excited there. And the idea of an autobiography, that was something that I had started. And what happened was it turned into more of a timeline because I found out that there was a lot of like holes or black spots in my memory. And I just remember I got to this point where I was like, okay, I don't like the person that I've become. I'm not happy. I need to change it. And I was like, I need to backtrack and think about all the things I've been through, what happened what year, so that I can really pinpoint where the healing needs to happen. So then it turned into this timeline. I was like, this year, this is where I was. This is what I did. This year I went through this. This year I went through this. And then I just looked at it and then I just started doing all the healing. And then I never actually wrote the book, but I figured out who I was. I came back home to myself, and I think that was what was most important to me at the end of that. And then now it's like I've just jumped to speaking out about it. Like I was saying, like I'm a writer. It's what I've always done. Like when I was 12, I was published in Chicken Soup for a story called Pushed by an Angel. I didn't tell anybody that I wrote it or mailed it off to them. Like my parents just got a phone call at dinner one night, like, your daughter's going to be in this book. And they're like, Erin, you didn't even tell us. But I used to sit in my room and write and write and write and just like off to publishers. And I was in a couple other magazines. But something just feels like I just need to start using my voice. So I don't know if that's just for the time being, and then I'll write later down the road, but it definitely feels like I'm where I'm supposed to be. And writing this chapter is really exciting. And then the idea of maybe an autobiography down the road, that's something I would definitely consider.
Right on. Very cool. Yeah, it's like I remember I actually started out with that um, when I was like I don't know, I was junior or senior. I think it was when I was a senior. Actually, I got sober and in a 12-step program in my I got sober when I was 16, and I remember doing the 4-step, taking personal inventory and going over my life, and looking at my whole life during that time while I was
Yes.
working on that step, and taking the personal inventory of my whole life
The timeline.
up until the time I was 16,
Yeah.
and when I quit drinking and doing drugs. And then a few months later, I was working on a project. It was for a senior English credit or an English credit anyway, that I started in summer school, which was voluntary. I went to summer school so I can, do more credit, possibly, get out of school a little sooner. I was going to an alternative high school where you work at your own rate, so I was looking to get my work done and get out of there. And at any rate, one of the projects was to write an autobiography, write your life story. So, and I was just working on it far too long. Ended up to where it's like they said I was working on it into the next school year, and they said I was finally told near the end of that school year, okay, never mind, Shane, you don't even have to do that. You only had to start that credit during summer school